Blog Talk Radio. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of 219 Green Connect, where we explore topics about the environment and green living in Northwest Indiana. For past show archives, news, and upcoming events, you can check out our website at 219greenconnect.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter. Our ID on both Facebook and Twitter is 219 Green Connect. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Listeners to our live show today, March 22nd, can phone in at 805-243-1323 to post questions or to join us on the live call. I'm Kathy Sipple. I'm your host, and with me today I have Nicole Messacar. She is Education Coordinator at the LaPorte County Soil and Water Conservation District, and we're going to be talking about some of their upcoming workshops and programs. They've got a number of different workshops and programs, and let's see if I've got Nicole with me now.
Hi.
Hi, Nicole. Great.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining me today. Very happy to have you. Was really excited to learn about a lot of your upcoming workshops and programs. It looks like some really innovative stuff.
Well, thank you. We're trying new things.
What's a rain garden party, first of all?
Well, it's sort of like a Tupperware party, but with rain gardens. Not in the fact that we're trying to sell you something, although we do happen to be selling some plant kits right at the moment, but it's more for us about promoting rain gardens and the use of rain gardens and the understanding of rain gardens. So it'll be, it's Tuesday night, this coming Tuesday night from 6 to 8, and we're going to, have hopefully a lot of fun, almost a game kind of an atmosphere, and in that way that's how it's similar to a Tupperware party. Well, we'll be, playing games and doing some hands-on types of things, and hopefully by the time folks leave, they're inspired to go ahead and plant their own rain garden in their yard.
Very cool. So that would be March 27th, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And if people want to get more information about it, why don't you give a shout-out for your website or tell them where they can get further details?
Absolutely. Well, of course, you can always find us on Facebook. We spend a lot of time promoting our activities there, and that would be, Facebook, and then we're just LaPorte County Soil and Water Conservation District. And then our website is www.laporteswcd.com, and right on our homepage, I've got links to the PDFs for the rain garden flyer and some of our other events, and you can just click on there and shoot me an email. And I do have a little registration form, so if you shoot me an email or give me a phone call, I'll give you a link back to the registration form, and it's just a nice way that I can keep everything organized. But it is free. We're going to be serving dinner, so we want to make sure we know how many folks are going to be joining us. Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than free.
No kidding, right?
Yeah,
and the dinner is going to be courtesy of the LaPorte County MS4 program. So, and they'll also be participating in the workshop and doing some activities. So, yeah, it should be a fun night.
Okay, so I actually have been learning a little bit more about rain gardens lately, but for those who may not know anything about it, can you describe just a brief overview of what's entailed?
Absolutely. They can be small or large. The idea is that you want to make everything manageable for yourself, and that's why, we don't want folks to be intimidated, but essentially they're very simple, best management practices to control runoff from your impervious surfaces, such as your rooftop or your driveway or, your shed or something like that. Even yards can be considered impervious because of the really shallow root structure of most of the turf grasses that we use in our yards, but they're essentially just, bowl-shaped gardens, not very deep. I mean, we're not talking about a pond, but they have to be sort of a depression because we want them to, absorb that runoff that's coming from your, impervious surfaces. So they're just, these bowl-shaped gardens, and they're truly gardens. They're intended to be planted with beautiful plants, native plants that are adapted to be sometimes inundated, obviously, right, from rainstorms, and then sometimes, handle large periods of dryness as well. They have very deep root structures, and those roots will draw that storm water into the ground where it belongs instead of allowing it to just run quickly into storm drains, which, when water goes into our storm drains, it goes directly untreated into rivers and streams and ditches and that sort of thing. So the idea is to get that water back into the ground where it belongs and not in our rivers.
Yeah, I mean, it probably promotes a healthier lawn, by keeping the water where it's actually needed, just, letting it draw out eventually over time rather than, as you said, just running across a hard surface like turf grass. And that's kind of better for our city's storm drain systems as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we're getting better about separating our sanitary sewers from our storm sewers, and most communities are doing that. But, it's not inundating our sewers with storm water is really better for everybody.
Right.
As you might know, if our storm sewers get, over inundated with storm water, then we can have, overflows and that type of thing, and that's just yuck.
Yeah, very cool that you're doing that. And so at the party, you'll also have information about, you said you've got a native plant sale. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, we're actually, every year we host it's traditionally been a tree sale, and we have promoted the use of trees on farm ground, actually, for windbreaks and that type of thing. But over the years, what we've started to realize is, a lot of folks have been buying trees from us for a long time, and they've got plenty of trees, and B, we have a whole, another world of landowners that aren't necessarily farmers, and they're looking for something a little bit different. So we've, in the past couple of years, have started adding native plants to our selection, and what we've opted to go with is we purchased these from JF New, and they are pre-mixed flats of 38 plugs, and you can select either an instant rain garden kit or a shade-tolerant plant kit or a wetlands kit or like a prairie grass type of thing, and the nursery selects them for that particular habitat, and they're all ready to go, and they're beautiful. They're always excellent, healthy, flats of plants, and so yeah, we sell those. We're selling seed mixes this year as well, and then of course our trees that we always, we always keep those because those are always popular. So we do have a lot of species of trees that we're selling as well.
Very cool. Well, very cool. Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit familiar with JF News work, and I know they do a lot of big installations. So that's great that you're making their products available to smaller purchasers and making it more
and we
manageable.
know that they. Yeah, absolutely. And we knew that they do, we've worked with them for years. They do great work, and they really do have, obviously they're a business, but they do also really place an importance on getting native plants out there, using native plants in the landscape, and, really as a functional tool. And so we know we can kind of trust what we're getting for them, and we can stand behind that. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty well known in that area. And, yeah, we actually had Rod Ginter from JF News speak at Green Drinks in Valparaiso last year. I think it was February or March, and he actually talked about a project that they had going on in the Memorial neighborhood in Valparaiso where they did an auction for rain gardens. So they were coming in and helping, homeowners make it a little bit more affordable, and they let people kind of bid what they were willing to pay to help offset, some of the costs. But certainly it seems like something you can do yourself if you just get some manpower and some shoveling going on.
Yeah, and Rod is actually going to be one of our speakers at the Rain Garden Party, so he'll be there and helping people. And the Soil and Water Conservation District is, I want folks to really see us as a community resource. You don't have to go do it by yourself. I mean, I'm the education coordinator. I have certainly gone out and helped people in their yards, and we have a lot of resources that we can pull together and help people. And, we are a county agency. We're paid for by your taxpayer dollars, so we're here to, provide those resources and for free, as often as we can. We want to be seen as that resource so folks don't feel overwhelmed by some of these things. I mean, that is what we want people to really get out of, particularly this workshop is, hey, this isn't that hard. I don't have to be overwhelmed. There's a lot of help out there for me, and, I can do this.
Right.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. If I can give a shout out to another friend of mine who's been a guest, he's been a guest a couple times on the radio show, is John Irvin. I don't know if you would have encountered him at all.
I do know John.
You know John. Okay, he's kind of an ecopreneur. He had worked for the DNR previously.
Right.
He's got a new concern called Primal Elegance. So he's also available to go out, and he'll do kind of a site check for people and help them, figuring out some of the angles. I know just making sure you get the garden far enough away from structure is pretty important, to make sure you're not hurting that. So it sounds like people have a lot of different resources. But anyway, his information, I think, is probably included on past episodes, but he can also be reached at primal_elegance@live.com. So I hope I'm not poaching in on your
No, not at all.
People outside of, the LaPorte area, he's here in the Valpo area where I am. So I'd love it if everybody had a rain garden, frankly, or at least a rain barrel. I'm actually going to score a few more rain barrels next week going to a workshop here in Porter County. And, once you start paying attention to just how important it is to preserve our water and manage that runoff, everybody can be a part of that, right?
Oh, yeah. That's the idea. I mean, we all contribute, whether we contribute positively or negatively. Everything we do has an impact,
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what I want to say is everybody can have a positive impact, even, just a small rain garden or, just a rain barrel. It reduces, your water bill every month, number one, because you're using that runoff. And it just seems like such a better approach to managing our natural resources. And another really interesting workshop I saw, I got to say I've not seen this anywhere else, is your cover crop workshop.
Well, to be fair, this cover crop thing is kind of popping up all over the state. Soil and water conservation districts are really trying to promote the use of cover crops, and not only on huge 1,000-acre farms, but even in your garden. So once again, it can be applied large or small, but cover crops are just essentially the idea is that your soil is a living, breathing thing. It's alive, and it should be covered at all times, year-round. You should have something covering your soil, not only for erosion prevention and soil loss, but for the health of your soil, because things that grow in your soil, they have a chemistry and a biology in their root systems that make your soil better, and you can actually increase the organic matter in your soil, and you can increase the number of earthworms in your soil, and you can increase the amount of nitrogen in your soil, and also you can prevent nitrogen from leaching out of your soil. There's a million positive benefits to using cover crops, and we're just so excited. Yeah, it's really exciting, and we really hope that we get some folks out. This will actually be the third. We've done kind of a series of workshops, and so this one is dealing with, okay, so you've planted your cover crops, they've overwintered, and now you're ready to put your main crop in there. Now what do you do? And obviously, depending on your application, if you're an organic farmer, you're going to want to have a different approach than if you're a conventional farmer, or if you're a gardener, or, depending on your crop, or depending on what your cover crop was, there's going to be a lot of different approaches, and it's complicated. And once again, just the same as with the rain gardens, we don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed by these things. We want them to really do them, and we want them to feel like, okay, this is something I can manage. So we've got a couple of great speakers coming out. Dave Robeson has been, he's just, I can't say enough great things about Dave Robeson. He works for Cisco Seeds, and he has a blog called plantcovercrops.com, where he just, goes over the ins and the outs, and he has videos, and he has a YouTube channel, and he just posts all kinds of excellent information about cover crops, and he's going to be out there helping us out. We're going to dig a root pit to look at what the roots have done out there over time, over the winter. We're going to do some earthworm counting to see, kind of compare. We did a little bit of earthworm counting in the fall when we planted the crop. And then we're going to have Teresa Wojciewicz. She's the district conservationist for the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and she's going to be doing some really cool soil structure demonstrations and just talking about soil health in general. And then we'll have a little panel of some producers in the area that have been using cover crops for several years, and they're going to give us their input, as to what's worked for them, kind of what challenges they've had, what they've done, what cover crops they've chosen, because there's a lot of varieties of these things that you can use. And so I think it's going to be a pretty well-rounded program, and it's free, and we'll be providing breakfast, which is actually, so it's been,
you guys really know how to pack them in. going to become a groupie. I'll be checking your website frequently.
I hope so. I mean, that's our idea, and we want people to come out and we want to try to incentivize them. So
Good. So that one is, am I right in seeing that that's next Thursday morning?
Thursday morning, 7:30 a.m. It'll be at Westville High School. Westville High School has been a great partner. They have a really thriving FFA program, which is the Future Farmers of America, and they have an ag teacher out there, Rob Walker, who's just a dynamo, and he has these great groups of kids, and they actually have a plot out there that they were just mowing. It's just kind of this large field of grass, and they were just mowing it every year, and the former superintendent, Dr. Thorne, approached me one day and said, can we do anything with that? Because I'm tired of paying for it to be mowed. And I said, are you kidding me? Yes. So so we actually worked with there's a farmer, John Coulter, out in Westville, big farmer, a lot of people probably know. And so he used it to plant some beans in, and then we worked with him and said, okay, when your beans are out, we'd like to put cover crops in there and do some experiments. And the kids, FFA kids, went out and planted those cover crops and measured out the plots. They're 10 feet wide by 100 feet long, and they marked them off and everything. And it's really great. So we'll start in Rob's classroom, kind of with our breakfast and our speaking portion, and then we're going to walk out to that plot, which is behind the school, and do the actual hands-on.
Well, that sounds really wonderful. So I think I'm familiar with some cover crops, but it's like winter wheat. I've heard of that. Is that a cover crop?
It can be used as a cover crop, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the cool thing about winter wheat is then you can go ahead and harvest it too, and it's also your main crop.
Right.
A lot of what folks use is like a cereal rye. People use, or like a crimson clover. We're starting to see a lot of folks do some mixes. They're using things from the brassica family, which are like turnips and radishes, that type of thing.
Oh, wow, interesting. Okay. So edible cover crops. Absolutely.
Those Daikon radishes are what a lot of folks are using because they grow really fast, and they've got that really big taproot that goes down and breaks up the soil and reduces compaction. And so it's really once you start to get into it, you find that it's a science and it's an art, and these plants are like magic in the soil.
It's just amazing to me that, is this information that we've had and was lost, or is it just kind of coming back into favor after, a long time with the monoculture and just doing one thing with a plot?
Yeah, I think it's definitely old stuff that's coming back around. Now we have so much more, technology, and we can actually monitor some of these results. I mean, I think a lot of our, great-grandparents would say, well, of course, but now we can really put some science to the anecdote. And, I think what we've realized is we're not as smart as we're not smarter than Mother Nature like we thought we have been for so long. And so I think it's really becoming this really nice blend of kind of common sense and science and technology and all of that.
Well, and I really had to bite my tongue there. You mentioned earthworms a few times, and I don't know if you know it, but I'm actually like a huge worm fan.
Me too.
So, do you do composting with worms?
I do. I actually have a vermicomposting program that I do with students, and we have a worm bin here in the office. Oh, it's great. We've been doing it, I don't know, about four years now. We've had a bin, and the bin just lives here in the office and in the lunchroom, and when ladies finish their lunch or whatever, they throw their banana peels in there, and we use red wigglers. And I take it around to schools and, not only show students how to reduce their solid waste, but then also the importance of earthworms in the soil. And we talk about how, those nutrients that are in a banana peel or an orange peel or whatever are kind of locked up in there. And those earthworms release those nutrients back into the soil so that the plants can use them again. And it's one of my most popular programs, actually.
It is. I mean, I have to say, I just started about a year ago with worm composting, and I had composted before and thought it was moderately interesting, just as a matter of, doing the right thing. But they really step it up a notch. I mean, it's just incredible, how quickly they can break things down and just how much more rich and fertile that soil is when they're done. I just think they're incredible.
Oh, yeah. They are amazing, and especially the red wigglers. I mean, they can break down 3.5 times their body weight per week, which doesn't, seem like a lot on an individual worm basis. But if you figure, you might have a pound of worms in your bin or something, then that's like 3.5 pounds of food scraps a week. And if you multiply, I love doing this with kids. You take a group of 25 kids and say, okay, if each one of you guys were composting with these worms, that's 3.5 pounds of scraps a week. And then I make them do the math and multiply it out over, 25 kids. And then I say, okay, now how many, kids do you think are in the whole first grade? And then they multiply that out. And then you start to see those numbers. And, you look at the whole population of the United States and think about how much that would serve to reduce our solid waste and, our landfills. Oh, my goodness.
Right. And then it goes back to the soil, and you've got better aerated, nutrient-rich soil. So it's just good on so many levels.
Absolutely.
I'm like,
and
how can we get everybody with a worm bin?
I know.
Is there any plan for, LaPorte County to do that as a district, make those vermicompost bins available, right along with the recycling? Is that anywhere in the future?
I have no idea. That would be the solid waste department, and actually they have an educator over there, Alicia Ebaugh, and she also does the worm program more from that solid waste perspective. And she and I have talked about that because there are communities that do that.
Right.
And it's a great idea. I don't know that it's something that's necessarily planned for in the future, but I think that
I'm going off topic. Sorry, it's a passion of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I have had Alicia on past webinars, and that might be a good future topic. But back to what you're doing, you've got some other real neat things, and I mean you've got a great blog. You've got all kinds of resources here on your website. Are there any other programs or any other resources you'd like to make listeners aware of?
Well, yeah, I mentioned our tree sale, and what we try to do every year is, we sell these trees, and, it is a fundraiser. I like I said, I do provide these school programs and workshops, and we do try to do everything free of charge, but, it's not free to us. So this tree sale is really one of our best fundraisers, and we don't make millions, but it does really help. And so then what we try to do is to say, hey, we appreciate you supporting us in the community, and we try to provide a free workshop at the pickup date. So the pickup date is April 28th at the LaPorte County Fairgrounds, and what I'll be doing this year, it kind of changes every year, but I'm going to be doing a workshop from 11 to noon on that day called Planting for Pollinators. And we'll be talking about, the role of native pollinators in the environment and our food supply, and I'll be helping folks understand what they can do in their yards to attract native pollinators and certainly not hurt them. So, pollinator-friendly yard care practices, and just kind of, fun facts about native bees. A lot of people are familiar with the honeybee, but most people don't know anything about, say, the blue orchard bee or the mason bee or something like that. So it'll be just kind of a little insight into the whole world of native pollinators that we don't really think about that often.
I have to say I can honestly admit that I've never thought about those bees because I've never heard of them. So now you've got me very curious, and I want to know more. But I have heard, some news articles and news items about bees really, decreasing in number. And can you share any insights about what might be going on there?
Yeah, well, there's a few things. So, the obvious first response to that is, habitat loss. Bees need, just like any other critter, they have to have, food, water, shelter, and space. They need places to live. And, the more and more lands that we develop and the more fence rows that get taken out of farms and that sort of thing, the less habitat they have. So that's, real simple there. But when we're talking about honeybees, those are a non-native bee species. We've brought those in. They're imported. They're European. And we work them to death. Like any other kind of livestock, these managed honeybees, and the reason we use honeybees is because they're very easily managed, right? They live in a hive situation in colonies, and we can pack them up and, ship them to California for the almond harvest and then ship them back to Georgia for the peach harvest. And,
wow.
And these little guys, yeah.
Yeah,
and
when you say worker bee, they are working.
They are, and they really, so what they think is with this colony collapse disorder, there's really nobody that's kind of gotten the silver bullet there, but what they're thinking is it's a combination of stress, malnutrition, and like you mentioned, the whole monoculture thing. These bees are, you can imagine anything if you ate a diet of one kind of food exclusively for long periods of time, I mean, that would kind of, you'd be deficient in some of the other things that you needed, even if it was something healthy, right? So, we send these bees and they're eating nothing but almond pollen for, 6 weeks or whatever it is. And, then we send them out and they're eating nothing but the peach pollen and nectar for 6 weeks. And, so we're thinking, they're just kind of getting run down, and then they're becoming more susceptible to things like, the varroa mites and, some of the other kind of parasites that they get. And it's probably a factor of a lot of those things. And then, of course, pesticides and that type of thing is, certainly not good for them, right? So,
or maybe even the GMO seeds. I don't even want to get into that crazy topic.
It's a crazy topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a scientist. I really don't have that background, but the little that I do know, it just does make me a little concerned. What might be going on throughout the entire food chain, including the bees. But
absolutely, and it's one of those things that even no matter how much time you spend studying some of those issues in a lab, you get out into reality and things become synergistic that you haven't anticipated, and so even if something seems safe in a lab, reality is reality. We have a lot of factors to consider.
Right. Well, it sure sounds like LaPorte County is very lucky to have you. You've obviously got a lot of knowledge about all of these programs and resources. And is there any other resource or program you'd like to talk about? Or otherwise, I'd like to just ask you how you got to be, where you are. What's your background and what's your passion?
Yeah, well, no, I think I've mentioned all of our upcoming programs. I mean, we do a lot. I mean, we're never bored here, right? We do. We have a small but mighty staff of 3 ladies, and occasionally we get a contractor. But we try to keep busy, and we do. We have our Envirothon that we just completed, which is a high school event for. It's like a competitive kind of extracurricular high school event, also centered on environmental issues. We coordinate that. The Northwest Regional Envirothon we coordinate, and we do activities for National Pollinator Week, which is the 3rd week of June, and we do school programs, and so there's always something, and we're never bored. But so I like you mentioned before, just our website is a great place. We try to keep it updated, weekly, and all of our activities are on there. So, and Facebook too. I try to keep posted on Facebook. So both of those are great places.
Job. You do a nice job.
Thanks.
I mean, my quote unquote real job is teaching, companies and organizations social media, and you're always doing a very fine job of keeping that updated. So let's talk about your website one more time. It's LaPorte, LaPorte. SWCD.com, and that's LaPorte County Soil and Water Conservation District. And I'm talking to Nicole, the education coordinator. And if you're just joining us now, you can catch the archive of this on blogtalkradio.com/219 Connect. And you can also check out past archives on our website, 219greenconnect.com. There's a little Blog Talk Radio player right on the first page where you can catch this episode and past ones. Also past episodes available via subscription on iTunes. So a number of ways you can get involved. Always looking for guests who have interesting programs as resources throughout Northwest Indiana. Really appreciate the rich information you've given us today, Nicole, and would love to have you back another time.
Thanks, anytime.
Yeah. I'm in Valpo in Porter County, kind of in the middle of the area that I'm covering. But, really want to make sure we cover the whole 219 area code. So, it sounds like you'd be a great resource for LaPorte.
Thanks.
Well,
Thank
wonderful. I wish
much.
you much success at your upcoming workshops. Again, that's the Rain Garden Party, Tuesday, March 27th from 6 to 8 p.m., and that's at your offices, correct?
That is at our office. We're at 2857 West State Road 2. And, we do ask that folks pre-register with us. Like I said, there's no cost for either one of those workshops, but we do want to feed you, so we need to have a number.
Right.
And so then especially
do that from the website. Good.
Yeah, we can do it from our website. You can email me. You can call us, 219. 326-6808. I'm extension 2115. There's a lot of ways to get a hold of us through Facebook. But yeah, and also at both workshops, you'll be taking home some goodies. So I want to make sure I have enough to, give to everybody. So.
Well, wonderful. I know we're coming up at about the 30-second mark, so we're going to have to wrap it up. But thanks for joining us again on 219 Green Connect, and look for more great episodes on ways you can green your life and your community, and ways to just live a little bit lighter on the earth. So thank you very much, Nicole, and
thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Excellent.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
You. Nice talking to you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.